At Henkeries, which was the project that we completed our listing on almost a year ago, there's an existing JORC compliant resource of 5 million pounds of uranium. Earlier this year, we went out to tender for the appointment of a drilling contractor to complete a 6,500 metre, 350-hole RC air core program. We've delayed the implementation and the appointment of that contractor because we were finalising the acquisition of the Eagle Mining tenement, which more than doubles our footprint in that area and brings in a tremendous amount of uranium anomalies. With that acquisition now announced and to be completed in the coming weeks, we've now re-engaged with the shortlisted drilling contractor with a view of extending that drilling program over both Henkeries North, Henkeries Central, and obviously over the new ground from Eagle Mining, which we refer to as Henkeries South. At Henkeries Central and Henkeries North, we're going to be doing infill drilling to raise the confidence level in that resource to a measured category, and that's over a 6-kilometre stretch of the paleo channel, which is where the uranium is hosted. The balance of that paleo channel on our licence area and the area on the Eagle Mining tenement will be subject to an increased drilling program. So we're going to increase from that 6,500 metre, 350 metre hole to potentially doubling that. And that's really driven by the tremendous uranium anomalies that we are seeing on the Eagle Mining ground. So we're anticipating the appointment of that drilling contractor in the current quarter and hopefully the commencement of that drill program very shortly thereafter. The Eagle Mining ground was something which we identified almost 2 years ago as being strategically very important to the Henkeries project. Henkeries was a project, as everybody knows, that was taken through to feasibility study by Anglo American in the 70s, before obviously the uranium market changed dramatically in terms of its pricing. But that feasibility study was a very positive one from both the economics, the production profile, the recoveries, all the metrics that were associated with that. We identified clearly that the uranium on the Henkeries project extended throughout the Eagle Mining licence area. So with Eagle coming into this transaction now, we have a very large-scale project there. And instead of looking at the potential to produce £1 million per annum of uranium, clearly we can look at increasing that and extending the mine life. So it really adds a lot of potential there. We have our lawyers working on the formal acquisition documentation. And as we've mentioned before, we expect that to be completed very, very shortly. And from there, we move forward with the regulatory approvals, again, which we expect to secure very, very quickly, given the environment in the Northern Cape for mining and mining investment. It's an area which has grown quite significantly over recent years, and a lot of new companies, a lot of new interest, and a very supportive provincial government when it comes to mining investment. Clearly, we've put out a lot of information on Basin North and Basin South. The significant resources, the 90 million pounds of uranium resources, the 4.17 million ounces of gold resources. And it's important to see where the gold price has moved, even over the past 2 months since we announced that transaction. So tremendous value there in what is going to be a byproduct from the mining of the uranium ore. We decided to focus on the Basin North and Basin South because we see an opportunity to really consolidate a position in that area, an area where they've been producing uranium, mining uranium, processing uranium for over 70 years, continuously. So you've got a lot of that infrastructure there. So when I look at what we can tell people new about Basin North and Basin South, it's the broader consolidation strategy that we have in that area, leveraging off the existing plant, shaft, underground infrastructure, which I believe will allow us to really push ahead and accelerate the development of those licenses, particularly Basin North. Basin South, very attractive, and the potential to increase the resources there quite significantly with additional drilling. And that's something clearly we're looking at. But initially, it's the development strategy, moving into production, and looking at how we can develop Basin North and be generating revenue from that. Unashamedly, NEO was listed as being a uranium company that would consolidate its position in Southern Africa, and with a very key goal of becoming one of South Africa's leading uranium producers. Not an exploration company, but a developer of mines and a producer of uranium. So over the past 12 months since being listed, we have been working on that strategy, and clearly over the past few months you've seen the results of that with both the Eagle Mining acquisition and also Beza North and Beza South. There's probably one final piece in the puzzle there around Beza North and Beza South, which we've been accelerating our documentation process on that. We anticipate that will be finalised over the coming weeks, with a view that unlocks that whole area, consolidates that whole area, and really then establishes NEO as being able to deliver on its goal of becoming a uranium producer. So there is that third acquisition which we've made very clear that we're progressing, and it's one which is very well advanced, and one which we anticipate being able to announce as being closed in the coming weeks. So I'm excited by that. It's been one which we've been working on very hard. One of the first ones that we were working on, and I think when people see that, they will really see how NEO is going to unlock the value of these uranium projects in South Africa. When we announced that Beza North and Beza South acquisition, we made it very clear that we were negotiating and finalising a debt facility that would be non-dilutive to shareholders in that respect, and that we would use to fund the cash consideration that was due on the various acquisitions that we were doing, to also fund the updating of various development study reports that we have inherited, and also to fund the working capital to actually start some of that work, some of that underground redevelopment, refurbishment work, plant upgrade work, and so on. So that has been something which we've been working on for a number of months now. And I'm very hopeful that very shortly we will be able to come out and announce that the key commercial terms of that have been agreed in a term sheet, in a heads of terms, and that'll allow shareholders to see exactly the quantum of that funding. And I know Sean Heathcote, when he was pressed on this, made reference to the funding structure that we had in place. That funding structure was clearly linked to the gold resources that we have at Beza North and Beza South, 4.17 million ounces, which tremendous in situ value. But as a uranium company, a pure focused uranium company, having that gold byproduct stream really gives us an opportunity to basically leverage off of that. So putting in place, as I think Sean mentioned, a $25 million facility, effectively a prepayment, a streaming, a royalty transaction, to give us an upfront consideration of that amount. That's something which we've been pushing ahead with, and which we're getting very close to finalising a lot of those details. We'll clearly put out an announcement to the stock exchange as and when we finalise that, but it's been going very well. And I think as others in the market have taken note of the tremendous gold resources that we have there, it's attracted attention from a number of other funders as well, which is very pleasing. But we remain focused on closing this out. Clearly, we want to have the most competitive funding in place, and of a significant size that allows us to really push ahead very fast to get this work done. So yes, that facility, look, it's something in my previous roles with a number of the investment banks, with Rothschilds, with Investec and so on, I was very actively finalising those transactions for a number of gold companies. So it's something I'm very used to, and it's something we see quite increasingly more in the current market, particularly given the gold price where it's at. Yeah, look, as I've said, the acquisitions which we're closing out now clearly give us a clear pathway to production. We said that with Henkries. Henkries, we're obviously updating the feasibility study there. We're bringing in the Eagle Mining license, and already the erudite study from earlier this year reconfirmed the very robust project economics for that. So moving forward very quickly into the feed stage the engineering design, some updated work, but clearly we need to get that resource expansion drilling program completed, which will be completed very quickly, allowing us to push ahead with that there. With the new acquisitions in the Velcom area in the Witwatersrand Basin, Basin North, Basin South, and what else we're doing there, the ability to move even quicker and use existing infrastructure, like I've said, use plant, use shaft underground infrastructure, really allows us to target a 12 to 18 month production timetable. So that's something we're very, very excited about. Look, NEO in the most recent of months has transformed. We now have close to 100 million pounds worth of uranium resources, over 4 million ounces of gold. We clearly have some significant value in terms of our resources. We're arguably one of the lowest valued uranium companies in London, in Australia, even in North America. We have resources that have been well drilled out. We have projects where there has been significant feasibility study work completed. We're operating in an environment where uranium mining has been conducted for over 70 years continuously, where there is the regulatory framework which promotes that mining, where there is processing facilities, where there is mine infrastructure, where there are mine support services. So when I look at NEO, I see very few others that can compete with us on all those fronts. We have a clear pathway through to production across these various projects. We have a very strong board. We have partners that we are looking at growing with in South Africa that will really allow us to deliver on all of these projects and in an accelerated time frame. So when I sit here and I say that NEO is going to be the next uranium producer, I say that with a lot of confidence. I say that with a lot of conviction, and I say that because I can see it. I've read the reports, I see what we have in front, I see what our advisors, I see what other strategic investors are saying to us, and they want to get involved, they want to support us, they recognize what we can deliver in the short term, and in a market where both uranium and gold are arguably two of the strongest commodities at the moment. So for investors looking to get that sort of exposure, I suggest they look long and hard at NEO and start to see exactly what we're going to deliver on.